Welcome back, friends and friends I've yet to meet. Welcome to the City of Phear. Tonight we have part 3 and the finale of the story The Flea Market Murders. It's been a busy summer. I've had loads of fun and really hope you have too. That being said, hoping as spooky season approaches and sets in, I'll be able to get these episodes released a little quicker. Thanks for sticking in there in the meanwhile. As always, please give a like, rating, thumbs up, or whatever's applicable to the platform you're listening on. Helps improve the chances others who haven't heard of the podcast yet may come across it. Alright, enough of that. Let's get into it. I present to you The Flea Market Murders, Part 3. Alright, so especially after the last part of this story, it should be obvious. Y'all know I'm pretty dumb. Stick my nose into business that isn't really mine. Probably put myself in situations that are dangerous that I don't really need to. Keep asking myself why. That's the $1,000,000 question. It's not that my life as a shrink in the city isn't already crazy enough to keep me busy. Maybe it's the ADHD. Maybe I have a secret death wish. I don't know. Depression can be a hell of a thing. So anyway, I bought the shirts, and I guess the guy's sales were pretty good that weekend, because the murder started again just a few days later. I started seeing them pop up on the morning news. Now, none of the pictures of the victims were wearing the shirts in the photos they showed of them, but I figured it was probably the case they bought off of the guy that I got the shirts from. I gathered a lot of good info and thought that at some point probably would have been smart to forward what I figured out or thought I figured out to the cops, but after the interaction I had, left me with kind of a bad taste in my mouth, and I didn't think they'd really do much of anything anyway. I also never bothered to get any contact info or even a name from the guy selling the clothes. It wasn't really a big surprise when he wound up being one of the murder victims less than 2 weeks after our interaction. I kept monitoring my doorbell camera and looking through the history at night, watching people pass by the block. This guy had shown up once on camera and I had pictures, so I knew he was just a regular human guy. Well, as regular as a methed up torch-wielding murderer can be. What I mean is, as I've mentioned in a few other stories, when ghosts and ghouls and goblins and monsters or what have you come into play in this city, tech always seems to fail in one way or another. Wasn't the case for him. I never got a great look at any of the passers-by in the videos. There were a few folks that could have been him, but once again, he's got that kind of generic white trash scumbag look I see a lot of folks around here have. The more I ruminated on our initial encounter, how he followed me, threatened me, might have killed me if I hadn't gotten lucky, I got angrier and angrier. A rational, more normal, more sane person probably would have just thanked their lucky stars that they weren't a victim, but certain times, definitely times like this, I'm neither of those things. I don't know exactly what I was planning to do. I had some Charlie Bronson death wish fantasies going on in my head. Go out at night, make myself look like a target, and just when the predator thinks he's found his prey, make him realize how he really fucked up. His last fuck up. Put him down like a dog. Problem with this fantasy is that unlike Charlie's death wish character, I don't own a gun. Funny part of that is I'm the only person in my whole family that doesn't have one. I'm the only person that actually lives somewhere where it makes any sense to have one. Thought about getting one on a few occasions, but not going to do that though. I have my reasons. So as I ran through the fantasy in my head, realizing that wasn't going to work. I mean, I have a collection of nice little switchblades I choose from to carry on me most of the time, but in a rock, paper, scissors game of this scenario, I'm thinking blowtorch beats knife. The baseball bat I keep in the house close to the front door in case of intruders or someone following me home, but that's not going to work. I'm not about to start patrolling around the neighborhood with a bat. What to do? So I formulated somewhat of a plan in my head. It wasn't a great one. It was the best I could come up with, though. I made sure I always had my knife in my pocket, just in case. It wasn't plan A, as I didn't like my chances against the guy with a blowtorch or possibly something worse. But I also didn't want it to be one of the few times I actually needed it to be one of the few times I forgot to put it in my pocket before I headed out somewhere. This was the last resort, of course, though. I was still scared to be out at night. especially since the murder started ramping up again. The anger and feeling of indignation brought on by the memories of this guy pushed me to not only go out, but make it a point that each and every time I went out, I was wearing one of those shirts I got from the recently departed flea market vendor. Now, I'm a creature of habit. I'm not super exciting, and I don't go to a lot of different places, which is probably one of the reasons why that most recent girl broke things off. Probably for the best. I saw some red flags, and I'm probably not in the right mindset right now to be in a serious relationship anyway. All that aside, like I said, I pretty much go to the same places on the regular. It also freed up some extra time for me to put my plans into action. While the murders happened in a good scatterplot all over the neighborhood within just a few mile radius, I'm pretty sure this guy lived, or at least crashed somewhere close to my actual house. When the cops had asked him if he lived close by, he had said yes and wandered down one of the dark streets just a few blocks from mine. Of course, he could have been lying to them just to get out of the situation and save his own skin, but he also seemed so out of his mind that he wouldn't have had the capacity to do so. I mean, he did say right in front of them he was going to kill me and the other folks around for wearing his dead brother's clothing, so why would he be in the right mind to be sneaky about where he lived? Few nights went by of me going out more than usual to my local spots, making sure I stay there until at least 11 or so, then taking an extra slow walk home. Maybe take a few out-of-the-way paths, zigzagging through some of the blocks in my neighborhood. I was trying to fake like I was a little on the drunker side and unaware, but still keeping eyes in the back of my head and checking down every alleyway I passed so as not to get a good jump scare that turned into a good fatal head bashing. Did this for a few nights and nothing happened other than maybe some of my neighbors thinking I'm a bit more problematic in my drinking than I am, given the fake stumbling and acting aloof trying to make myself look like a target. As most things happen, for me anyway, when you really want something to happen, it generally does when you're least expecting it. Problem in this case is that it also means when I wasn't expecting it, I wasn't as prepared as I hoped to be. I decided to take the night off from my usual hypervigilance and plans to walk around making myself look like a target and just have a fun night out to blow off some steam. Went to the Green Rock around the corner for karaoke night, met up with some friends there. I had some drinks, sang some songs. I hoped I might find someone that night, might catch my eye, being recently single again and all, but that wasn't the case. At some points for karaoke, I'll stay and basically close the place out if I'm having a really good time and I have the energy. There weren't a ton of people in this week, and most folks had started leaving just a little after midnight. I had an early lunch at work, hadn't remembered to grab something for dinner before going out, so the beers hit me pretty quickly. Accidental drunk, we'll call it. This time I went stumbling home, and it wasn't an act. Luckily, I was only a few blocks away. It was eerily quiet out, for it only being about 12:30 or so. The way it'd normally get if it was maybe after 3 o'clock in the morning or in the very, very, very early morning hours. I was about half a block from my home, already had my keys in my hand, walking pretty quickly as I should have used the bathroom at the bar, but didn't think of it at the time. A few steps closer, and I see the man walk casually around the corner right in front of my house. He's carrying the torch. He sees me at the very same moment I see him, and we lock eyes. I was walking briskly, but I stopped dead in my tracks. "Oh shit," I say out loud. He starts walking towards me. I'm frozen for a second. Thankfully, only a second or two. I turn around, get ready to book it, as he's steadily picking up his pace. I take about 5 running steps back up the street in the direction I had been coming from when I heard him yell out, and also remembered my plan. "Hey, you thought you could get away from me, huh? I see you. I remember you." I stopped the run and continued briskly walking away from him, with my head cocked back, keeping an eye on him. He picked up his pace, but didn't come running after me like I thought he might. "Asshole, stop. Come over here. I told you I'd kill you for stealing my brother's clothes. I see you wearing them now, you piece of shit." I kept walking at a steady, fast pace. I tried to match his pace, keeping an equal distance from him. There's probably only about 100 feet between the two of us. I didn't want to get too close, but I didn't want to get too far either. This wouldn't work if he lost sight of me. Geez. I had a little bit too much to drink tonight. I tripped over my own feet just a bit as I hit a bit of uneven sidewalk I didn't see since I wasn't about to take my eyes off this guy. If I fell, I was a goner, or at least in for the fight of my life. He kept walking fast towards me. He didn't really pick up speed or start running, but started swinging the torch around a bit in a frantic fashion. I kept at it, the walk-in that is, while keeping an eye on him. I was getting closer. And while scared out of my mind, I thought, oh man, this might actually work. So I remembered what the owner from the Green Rock had said to me on the first incident. Hey, next time something like this happens, don't lead him here. Lead him to the bar down the street. I heard a tapping, metal on metal. Then I saw a flame come from the torch the man was carrying. I heard him yell out, "Ooh, I'm gonna teach you a lesson. You'll think twice about stealing someone's clothes after I burn your fucking face off." He kept walking towards me, and I away. My head swiveled back and forth, watching him and watching the sidewalk I was walking on to make sure there weren't any abnormalities I might trip on. He still kept a steady pace, and I still did, but I was getting closer. I got closer and closer to the intersection up ahead. Upon the intersection, I had taken a left to go to the Green Rock before. I turned a sharp right. I hauled it up for a second or two to make sure he saw which way I went. As I made the turn, he was there. He kept following me. I went towards the bar. It wasn't as crazy as the Jabroni bar, which was too far away at this point, but it was a bar I'd never really ever go to except to shoot pool on occasion. The reason, mostly, was that it was full of a bunch of angry good old boy types, born and raised in the neighborhood, always itching for a fight. He was getting closer and closer now. The bar was across a main two-way street with cars going by. It was late, but not too late where there wasn't still a car going by every now and then. There were no traffic lights where I was crossing, but stop signs. Most folks just blew through. I ran across the street, barely missing a car coming by. He tried to follow me, but got caught up for a few seconds by multiple cars whizzing by right after I had crossed. I stared him in the eyes as I entered the bar. He looked mad, downright out of his mind. The torch was still lit. The cars had passed, and I saw him press into the street as I pushed open the door to the bar and just went quickly inside. I didn't know what I was walking into, but thank God, it was exactly what I was expecting and hoping for. About 15 people, mostly gruff guys, around my age, a few older, a few guys in their 20s shooting pool towards the back. I looked through the glass front door and saw the torch psycho crossing the street, coming straight towards me. I didn't say a word to anyone, but ran to the back of the bar where the bathrooms were. I needed to get out of view, and I still needed to go. So I stood there in the bathroom for a minute or so doing my thing. I heard the door swing open. It took a few seconds, but after just a few, I stopped hearing the clacking of the pool table balls and started hearing some yelling. "Hey, what the fuck are you doing with that? Get the fuck out of here!" I quickly heard the familiar torch psycho's voice. "Fuck you all! I'll fucking kill you all!" Then I started hearing what sounded like a scuffle, a struggle, a bar fight. I snuck out of the bathroom and quickly ran through the side door of the bar. They had one just like the Green Rock did. I crossed the busy main street, going back towards my house, and once on the other side of the street, I stood there, looked. Within less than a minute, I saw the side door fly open and a body go tumbling outside. I saw 3 big guys come rushing out. I quickly realized, as I had expected, that the body that rolled out was the torch psycho. He tried to get to his feet, but the 3 much bigger men kept knocking him back down and taking their turns pummeling him. Every other hit I saw them land on him I could see, even from halfway across the street, a bit of blood spray up into the air. After all I had been through, part of me wanted to cross the street and join in, but I stayed put and watched. They beat him mercilessly. After a while he stopped moving. The men looked a little frightened, like they didn't mean to go so far with it. One of them looked over at me, and when he saw me watching, nudged his buddies, who all looked over at me as well. I gave them a big thumbs up from across the street. I sat there with my thumb up in the air, gave them a slow respect nod. They gave me the nod back. Then they gripped up the man's lifeless body and carried it down a side street out of view. Whew. Oh man. Glad I passed that test. Last thing I needed was to avoid getting killed by the torch psycho and get beaten to death by some townies. Oh man, that couldn't have gone down any better. I lit up a smoke, turned around, walked a couple of blocks back home. Got in, locked my door up tight. There were no more murders reported on the news. At least not for a good long while. Not right in my neighborhood. Whew. Some of these stories, ones I tell here, the real life ones that inspire them, I don't know if I'm the unluckiest guy or the luckiest guy on earth. Either way, I'll live to fight another day. Or at least live to tell the stories. This concludes the Flea Market Murders. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you've been following it since the release of part 1, that it wasn't too painful to wait so long in between episodes. In the next episode, I'll be back to a full-length story based off of a strange encounter I had with one of my favorite musicians a few years back. I'm really excited to get that one recorded. It should be out in a couple of weeks. If you like this story and any of the others, I'd appreciate it from the bottom of my heart if you share it around on whatever social media you use. And if you haven't yet, please like the City of Phear podcast Facebook and Instagram pages for updates on the show and just some other random silliness. Love to hear from y'all. Hope you're taking good care of yourselves and each other out there. As always, thanks for visiting me in the city, and I hope you come back real soon.